Like I said, we're going to do that background. Like I said, we're going to do that background. All right. It's now being streamed. All right. Welcome. My name is Ronita. I am a Purposeful Point and I teach painting online and in person. Welcome, welcome. Thank you guys for joining me. Like I said, make sure that you're okay to come off mute if you have any questions or to talk, but just make sure if you have a lot of background noise, I do ask for you to mute. So the colors that we're starting with, like I said, I'm going to do my background first. We're going to do that. We're going to come with the line right about here, but I am going to start with that top in my blue and my white, mixing that, and then we're going to put some I have a turquoise color. You, like I said, you can mix if you don't have turquoise or ocean color. What is this one called? Laguna. You can add white, blue and green and a little bit of white to get that color. And then of course your sand color, you decide what you want. And again, if you want to go abstract, you can also do that. I think the painting that I did with the group yesterday, we went really abstract. Where's that? I think. Okay, I don't see it. But when I say we went abstract, it was because of the colors. It was the beach, and they were not. Oh, there it is. Okay. So we went really abstract. That disappeared, didn't it? We went abstract with our background. So if you see those colors and you want to use those instead of what we have, you can. They're fun, and it's abstract. It's fun. So, but for us, I always like to I'm using flat brushes. I do try to I'm just addicted to the flat brushes. There are times that you may need a pointer brush, but for the most part I'm going to pretty much paint the painting with this flat brush. I like to grab my largest flat brush, something usually in the store you'll find something that's either 1 inch or 3 1/4 or half. And I do like to wet it a little bit. I dip it in my water. It does help the paint flow across the canvas better, and I just kind of touch it to my paper towel so that I won't have too much excess water running down my painting. Guys, we are going to be painting on 11 by, well, I'm painting on 11 by 14, and I would say canvas, but I am using paper, acrylic paper, and because I've run out of room because I've been doing these classes for 4 years now. So to reserve space, I went to using paper, but you're welcome to use any size you like, paper, canvas, or anything like that. So, like I said, I want to do the top part. It's going to be my blue. So where my sand here, I'm going to make that line. It's probably about halfway. That's going to be the sand down here, and up here is the sky and the sea. And you can bring it down further if you like. That is entirely up to you. It doesn't matter how far you bring it down. It's still going to look gorgeous. So if you want more sky and sea, then you go for it. So my top, I'm going to do the blue, and you can mix your blue on your canvas, on your palette, but I like to mix my blue on the canvas because I love the texture and the different just textures and just different variations in it to make it almost helps it look a little more real. And we are painting abstract, but I'm always going to reference the real thing in nature. So, and you can go lighter or darker. It's awfully dark, but I'll lighten it up by just blending in my white paint. So I do like I said, you can mix and make a lighter color on your palette if you like. Me personally, I just like the texture and the different variations that come out of mixing the paint and blending it on the palette. And then another advantage of using paper, it dries really fast. Yeah, I'm just gonna fill that in. Gonna make sure that I kind of go over it and blend in the line that I used to go across, because I don't want it to stand out too much. I want it to look a little more blended and natural. And I don't have, most people have a tendency to just kind of go back and forth, like horizontal. Don't do that. Don't do that. We are going for a more natural look, and I don't want you to have a line, a straight line. We have people who are dependent. I like to ask people sometimes when I'm in person and I see them, I'm like, are you an architect? I mean, what do you do? What are you, an engineer? What do you do? And sometimes people in the medical field, they feel the need to be exact. So a lot of times, you know, when I say I wanted you to smudge the line or blend it, no matter what, it's going to be a straight line across, because that's what they do. So I'm pretty much finished with my sky. Just threw a little bit more. So now we're going to go. I'm not even going to rinse my brush, guys, because we're going to the water's edge, and that turquoisey color, it has blue in it. So it's okay if it blends in, it has blue, it has white in it. It's okay if it blends. So you don't have to wash your brush out. Okay. You could even blend some blue in there with it as well. And the same thing with the top part. I'm going to throw some blue in there. Dip my brush, because I am on paper and the paper just drinks my paint. I do have to dip my brush often. And so again, I'm going to mix on here. I had a little bit of the turquoise. I have the blue in my brush. I have turquoise in my brush. So have white in there. I'm just gonna see what I get out of it. And I don't have a ratio of what I'm mixing. It's just, you know, what you like and what looks good to you. And then you just go from there. And it's okay if the lines cross, because I would say sometimes if you were looking out on the horizon, if you were looking over like an open water, the line might be even, but the line's not always going to be, we're going to go abstract. It's not going to be even in ours. Okay. So it's okay if your horizon is not even, not straight. Make sure that I don't leave a line that's really obvious between this sea and the ocean and the sky. Okay. Mine looks almost too blue, but it is what it is. Looks like very monotone. Put a little more white up here so it can doesn't look so. I was hoping to separate it a little bit, but it still kind of looks the same to me. I am rinsing my brush out now. Yeah, I am getting out my sand color. So whatever works for you for sand, you can go yellow. You can use yellow and white. Uh, and then, I don't think I've ever seen it, but I've heard that there's some beaches that have white sand. Ooh, you can go for it. You can go with that as well, but that would be pretty neat. So I'm getting what color does this say? This says light taupe, but I'm going to use it for sand. And pretty much everything else on our painting. Probably should have started with the sand since we're going to be painting mostly in the sand. Probably going to lighten it up a little bit as well with white, and I'm going to blend it on the palette. And again, I know some of you probably are compelled to go back and forth to make a straight, and you can do that. It's your painting. If you want to make straight lines or make it flow all the way across, you can go back and forth. And then this is, when they say artist therapy, this is the part, this swiping on the canvas back and forth. You can just lose yourself in it. Sometimes I have to remind the painters, put your brush down. Put the brushes down. Not yet, not yet. Finish first then. I want to make sure that I don't leave a white line between my two colors. Okay, I'm going to bring some of that taupe into the blue waters, or you can switch up and bring some of the blue waters down into the taupe or your sand. My sand looks awfully dark. It looks all light for me, but when I look in the camera, it looks dark. Makes me want to lighten it up some. Wrong one. So I'm pretty much done. Like I said, I'm just lightening things up a little bit. And we want to, because our next step is we're going to be in the sand. So you want to go ahead and finish up and put the brush down so we can let that dry. Or if you have a blow dryer, you can hit it with the blow dryer. So I'm checking to see if everybody brushes down. Go ahead and get your background covered. Now we want to jump into adding our lady relaxing on the beach. And the shape, I like to kind of talk about the way we add it and it being shapes. So if you look at the lady now, she's just a big triangle. So we can kind of put a triangle on our painting to get the dimensions close to what we have here. So a big triangle, and we'll go for a big circle in the middle. And then the arms and the legs. So picture the large triangle. Okay. Now you don't actually have to put the triangle, but if that helps you, that'd be cool. So I'm going to put a triangle. I'm going to use my sand color paint. And so if you see, I took her elbow almost all the way to the end of the paint. I'm sorry, end of the canvas on either side. So that's going to be our starting point, right? Here and here. You see my paint is a little bit darker there. And so that's, I say as far as her blanket, her towel anyway, it's going to be right about there. And then like I talked about her, the triangle, the top of it's going to be actually in the water. I don't know if you guys can see the paint there, but there, I'm just going to paint a line to there. That'll give me an idea of where okay, you guys can see my triangle. I can see it, so hopefully you can too. Eva, I'm digging that camera that moves with you. Okay. Then for her hat, that's all, pretty much a circle, but it's going to be kind of flat at the bottom. So you're thinking about where am I going to put that hat? And again, guys, these are my dimensions. If you want to do something a little bit different, you're welcome to do it. But the hat's pretty big. Go up around. Really, the hat is coming out. We can go bigger later with the hat. We need to. Okay, that's my circle. That's what I'm going to work with. All right. Now I'm going to grab I'm going to leave that hat. And I'm going to grab my skin color. And the reason that I'm doing that is in case our sand is still wet and we go with whatever our skin color is. And if it blends, it's still wet. If it blends in with the skin color, we're okay. So that's why I'm going to start with those arms and legs first. So that when we're ready to paint our pink hat, hopefully that's dry. So I am grabbing, like I said, a burnt sienna for a skin tone. You can use yellow. You can use a raw, what is that? Raw sienna. Burnt sienna, raw sienna. What a lot of times, what mixes better for, depending on your skin. If you're the tan, you can go with the burnt sienna, mix white with it to get a lighter, to lighten it up. It gives, I think it's usually really close to most complexions. And it just like you talk about, I don't know, some people makeup, you talk about your base. And so a lot of times that the burnt sienna, because it has red and blue, because of all of our skin, you can see some of those colors that are like undertones that are in our skin. So a lot of times that really hits it on the head with the burnt sienna mixed with white. But some with the lighter tones, you can maybe do the raw sienna and then add a little bit of white there. All right, so I have our hat here. I'm going to come arm here. Bring it out to that point where I said that her elbow was going to come out to. Give her a little bit of muscle. Ooh, yes. There. Might have made the paint too light. I'm gonna bring some more. I'll bring some more in my, so she's not as light. And then I want to bring an arm up. And shape it like an arm a little bit, where at the elbow is a little bit wider and it goes up. It's right where her wrist probably would be. Okay. And then her hand holding on to that hat. Might not look like the greatest hand, but it gets the job done, right? So now, and remember, guys, she's pretty large on this painting, so you don't want to make tiny arms on her. The proportions, I find that most people struggle with the proportions because they want to paint tiny. A lot of times it's harder for them to paint bigger, and I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty, so it's not just you. Okay, so now I'm going to jump over here to this other elbow and do the same thing. Out to where I put my markers. So then bring that arm and give her a little bit of a muscle bulge up. Bring that other one. Now we got specific on this one. I got a little specific with the fingers. I might not get specific with the fingers there. I'm just going to make sure that it looks like her, there's a hand holding her hat. I don't have to go specific with the fingers. and go in that direction. I see that. And again, make sure you put some arms on her. No skinny arms, guys. And then to make sure that you're putting the right size arms on her, you might have to stop and step back and kind of look to see if everything's proportioned correctly. Okay. Now my lines that I painted my hat, they dried and they like almost the same color as my sand. So next we're going to go up and get her knee there. So you can see I have her knee at a slight angle, but if it works better for you, you're welcome to make her knee go straight up and down. But you can see it's just kind of at a slight angle. You can see that your knee, when it's bent, it's kind of rounded. So keep that in mind. No square knees. Who can walk with a square knee? Not me. So, and again, it's at an angle, but if you're not comfortable with the angle, it can go straight up and down. Bring it down to where you think that hat's going to be. I feel like her knee should be up higher. I'm bringing mine up higher. I feel like she should be up higher. But do what works. You're looking at your painting. Step back. Look at what works for you.
How you want me to handle the food?
All right, so we have that first knee on there. So we want to get that second knee. And again, you don't see that second knee as much. Kind of hidden almost, or most of it, but you get the gist. I'm gonna put that. Almost close to her hand. I bought it. That knee all the way close to her hand. Hopefully, well, I put my hat in there to give me an idea of where to start and stop. And hopefully you use the paint color that'll allow you to still see the hat circle. Unlike myself. I have an idea of where the hat is, so I'm good. I'm excited about what I see already without the hat. Now I still have lines where I drew my triangle. I might have to touch those up a little bit to get rid of those lines. I can see them. I don't know if I can. Yeah, I guess you guys can still see them in my screen. So we got that. We can go back with some details later. Okay. We are ready for that hat. Hopefully we've left enough time for that area there to be dry.
Why don't we bring 2 containers?
My kids are a little loud. And then when you hear them, you're thinking, they all have very deep voices. There's a 19-year-old and a 15-year-old, and they have very deep voices. Their voices changed early, and then they had deep voices. And so now I have these grown men, they say, Mommy, Mommy, what's for dinner?
It needs to be cleaned anyway.
All right. So hopefully you have those arms and legs covered, and we are ready to jump into our hat. We're going to jump into our hat. Now, I chose pink. You do not have to choose pink. You can choose whichever color you like. And I'm going to go with pink. And one of the reasons I like the pink is because it has my pink, all brands are different. The coverage is amazing on my pink. I'm going to say it's amazing. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but it covers very well. So my red, if I put red, made it a red hat, my red is very translucent and you can still see everything underneath, and it changes the color and it's harder to get. I'd have to put several coats on it. So I like that my light pink, because it's very opaque and it covers amazingly well. So that's what I'm going to choose. So if you have a color, so my point is, if you have a certain color that you know covers very well, and I also have this, I've got this on clearance. I talk about it all the time. It's called Bahama Blue, but that color that covers, it's very opaque as well. It covers very well also. So it's, for me, when I'm trying to cover something like that, I'm going to use both of those, either one of those colors. So I'm going, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm grabbing my larger brush. And I'm going to, well, you don't have to use the larger one. You can go a little bit small. Okay, I'll grab a smaller one. So you guys are following suit. But I rock it out with those large brushes sometimes, guys. I'm going to get this one. This one, I think it's like a 1 3/4 or something like that. And this is also opportunity, like, if you felt like you messed up a little bit, you can cover it up with this pink. So I'm going to bring that hat. Now, so the hands, they're covering, going to be over top of the hat. So you might have to paint around the hands a little bit, but I'm bringing it down. It's going to be a little bit flat towards the bottom because she's laying down in that hat. Bring it up. And the hat, it's not a perfect circle. It's like a floppy hat, guys. So it's not a perfect circle. It's not going to be completely round. It has some dips and curves in it. I'm going to bring it down. I'm making sure I'm painting around the hand. I don't know if you guys can see that. I painted around the hand so that part of it is on her hat. And I just painted a hand shape. And you can go back later and put fingers in there, be more defined with the fingers if you like. So I know before I talked about it not really mattering what direction that you're painting in. Now, when I'm doing my hat, I am kind of swaying towards more of a circular motion just because I want the hat. A lot of times the paint strokes, it'll give you the illusion that it's more circular. Now my hat I did. Now, if you look closer, I do have it like the top of the hat where I put some areas that it makes it a little bit darker so that it makes it look like it's the top of the hat is protruding more. So the way that I did that to put that shadows in is I'm going to might just mix some on my palette. This is a time that I'm not going to mix on the palette, but I want to be a shade or two darker. I need my pink to be a shade or two darker so that I can make that circle in there. So I'm going to dip just a tip. You can see on my brush, just a tip, just a little bit of blue. And I'm going to mix some of that blue in my pink just to give it a darker. I mean, you can add black to make it darker, but sometimes the black takes over and then you got a lot of mixing going on because now you got to try to bring it back to the lighter. So, but blue does a great job of giving me the effect that I want. So I'm going to make a circle. That is going to be the top of her hat. And as you can see, it doesn't have to be a perfect circle. So, a little circle in her hat to make it like the top of the hat. I want to put, like her hat is kind of wavy. So I want to put a little bit of blue in some areas towards the edge of her hat to give it the wavy look. Try not to be too uniform with it. You see that? You see that blue? Now, actually, I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to rinse that blue out of my brush. I don't want any more blue traces in my brush. I'm going to go back to my pink because I want to blend that blue in a little bit. So I only have pink. Yes, I only have pink in my blue, and I'm going to go back on top of that blue. So can you see how it's doesn't stand out as much? It's still there. So it's still giving you that look that it stands out a little bit, but it just doesn't, not as much. And the same thing on my waves. I'm blending that blue in there. Okay, just blending it in. And you don't want those sections in there. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. Okay. So hat's looking good, looking good. Hat is looking good. Yeah, next is I'm going to add a towel, a beach blanket, towel, whatever works for you. So what color? And then I think about what color would make that something it pop or stand out or whatever. And then again, you're thinking about it's going to be on top of that sand color. So that sand is going to make most colors a little bit darker. So now in my painting, I used like a bright green. Do I have a bright green with me? I do have a bright green. I'm just not sure how it would show up on that sand. Or I could talked about my favorite opaque color. Maybe I'll try that. And it was on clearance. There's a reason why it's on clearance. Kind of thick. We'll see what I can get out of it. I'm going to use it until I can't use it anymore. That's for sure. It's almost gone anyway. One of my favorites. I'm going to grab my blue. I'm going to show you guys again that she's laying on the beach on her blanket. And I did bring some of the blanket up between this arm and the body over here. So let's, you don't have to do that. Let's just leave that off. Let me see what I come up with. Painting around my hat. And then if I don't, if it gets in the hat, it's okay. That's just where the blanket is. It's not going to be an even flat blanket. No flat blankets, guys. No flat blankets. Okay. And I'm gonna put a point at one end just so people will know. It's like, well, what is that underneath her? Bring it to like it's a point. So to give you an illusion, say maybe it's a blanket or a towel rather. The same thing over here. Making a point. And there we have a towel. It's a messy towel, but it gets the job done. How about that? Right now, I'm finished with my towel, but I did dip my brush because I have that teal color or turquoise or whatever you want to call it on my palette. And I always put too much paint. So I got extra. So now I'm just kind of taking and putting a bit of a shadow right underneath her hat. I don't know, you might not be able to see it. And for me, it's basically the same color. So that worked out for me. All right. We're finished with that. Finished, guys. Finished with your finished with that blanket. It wasn't much to it. So what am I thinking about? I want to, I don't know if you guys have this problem where I did my triangle. I'm going to try to get rid of that triangle. Okay. Yeah. Got rid of my little line. I had lines there for my triangle. So the part that was in the water, I covered that up. And so now I want to get rid of the ones that are in my sand there. I have some lines in my sand. So and I don't just cover up the lines, I bring it on out so it doesn't look like that's the only thing that like a blotch of paint right there where the line was to cover it up. So I dipped it in my sand color and in white, just kind of grow over it and I bring it out. I don't just paint that one area. I bring it all the way out so it doesn't look unnatural like I just see there. So that's perfect. All right, looking good. We're not done. I'm not done. I want to grab some white. Now, and also, I'm going to grab some white. But after I put this white in, this will be an opportunity for you to make the painting yours. I need a pointer brush. I want to add some little details. Okay. Sorry about that. I hope I didn't moon you guys. You know, my shirt had rose up a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna take a little bit of my white and grab a pointer brush. I still didn't grab a pointer brush, guys. Grab everything, but okay, this time you guys are not gonna be mooned, okay? That's part of my relaxation after my daytime job. Come home and take my belt off. So just losing my pants a little bit. So I'm going to get a pointer brush and I'm going to dip that in white. And now I'm going to add a couple accents. So some little highlights, I would say. I'm going to put a little bit of highlights on the around her hat. That's going to give it a little more dimension, a little depth and dimension. I don't know if I like that part, but I do like the white lines. I'm also going to put a little bit on the top of her knee, because I'm going to say the light is coming down. I'm going to put a little bit of lighten it up like I won't say a reflection, but it's going to be a little bit lighter there. And then put some on this other leg too, because it's at the top. Okay. And so this is also opportunity. If you wanted to define some fingers in there, you can use the white to maybe show highlights that are on the fingers. You can do that. And then actually you can also take some of a darker brown to go in between those as well, so that you can give the fingers more definition if that's something that you wanted to do. So there, put a little bit on, if I put some on the outside of her arm. I don't have enough paint on my brush. A little bit outside of her arm. Okay, and I'm gonna put a little bit on top part of the hat. Experiment a little bit, dog, like that. Okay. So those are my highlights, but there's a whole lot of open space. And this is a time, like at the end, that I'll encourage you to make the painting your own. Go off and do something different. Maybe you can put a sailboat in the distance, you know, a couple triangles, forwards and back, one going opposite way to do the sails. When you think about sailboat, you can put a bird in the sky, like a large M that looks like I don't know, I won't say a seagull, but you know, like a bird kind of swooping in and out there. That's the opportunity for you to throw some stuff in there. You can put a starfish in the sand. You can paint maybe a cup in the sand, like she has a drink with her, something like that. Now that I say that, I'm gonna try, because we're basically done with the painting. I want to try my sailboat idea. So I'm gonna draw a triangle. That's my triangle, my sailboat. It looks like a shark. Okay, so and then now how would I put on here that it's a sailboat. So a little bit, then make maybe a bow underneath. Does that look like a sailboat off in the distance? So just something like that you can break it up, because I did leave a lot of space up there. So those are some options for you. Mine's is just blue. You can make it a different color. Like most of the times sails, they might be colorful. So I'm going to go back to gallery view because, of course, this is show and tell. If you would like to, I would love to see what you did. So I'm going to put it in gallery view. And I'm going to